Thanks a lot here from Pax Europiana. I hope you can hear me well. This is Günther Fellinger speaking. I'm getting better now. I want to talk about the current situation in the European Union. Pax Europiana about peace, about prosperity, and we have good news ahead of the EU Council. It was decided that Bosnia will get the EU candidate status. I'm very happy for my friends in Bosnia. This is very good, but let's not forget Bosnia needs NATO membership. NATO membership for Bosnia and for Kosovo, by the way, for Kosovo here, my friends. Kosovo, that's very important, and it's NATO membership. But of course, EU candidacy is an important milestone. Ukraine has it got now, Moldova has it got now, Bosnia has it got now, and Kosovo is applying and will get it next year. I'm confident. That's very good. That's important breakthroughs. But for the security, of course, of all these countries, it's important to be in NATO. And please, let's not forget all these countries who have not the euro, like Kosovo and Montenegro, to adopt the euro and to be fast, and also Romania to join the Eurozone. The answer, please understand the logic. The answer is very important. We have to have more unity in Europe. And this is from the energy sector, from infrastructure, from the currency, from the NATO defense sector towards the political sector. Every sector we need more unity. This is the answer to these enormous and outrageous atrocities which Russia is committing in Ukraine and the war. It's a war against all of us. For our institutions are attacked, and of course this is the reason, the West integration of Ukraine, to stop it. That's why Putin makes this war. So we must be more integrated, and we must also integrate Ukraine. That's so important. I've made so many videos. I wanna all my new followers, thanks a lot. Now in this Schengen crisis, I got a lot of new followers and subscribers on YouTube. Thanks a lot. And please, it's so important that you see also the previous videos. I've made 1,800 videos now in the last 2 years since I started intensively in podcasting during the Corona crisis. And I have explained all the reasons for unity for Ukraine and for Kosovo and for the Balkans. And now I'm talking more about Romania. Look, Romania, I made the case already very clear. My friends in Romania, please, you must recognize Kosovo. I put the flag next to each other. There's no reason not to do it. It is an important further step towards unity of our decisions. And it's the Serbs who are with Russia. And it's the Serbs who are behind with Hungary, behind the Schengen veto. Please, it's some people don't believe me. Maybe I see some negative. What is Serbia to do with the Austrian? But it's very much interconnected. We are all very interconnected countries. And it was exactly on the 16th of November when Orban, Vucic and Nehammer met in Belgrade, and they have made this deal. Because then your Minister of Interior, Mr. Bode, I just found his open letter, very good open letter. He said he cannot understand what happened between the 16th of November and the 18th, when on the 16th of November at the Salzburg Global Seminar, or Salzburg Forum, was it a different format, but they said Austria is okay with Schengen for Romania, and on the 18th not. And then he says he doesn't know what happened in the 2 days. Yeah, but I know. They were meeting on the 16th in Belgrade, and on the 18th it was ultimately, where the three prime ministers met in Belgrade. They formed this axis of neutral evils. I say that all the time again. And then they have made the decision to block this Schengen in order to somehow have leverage against Romania. They want to squeeze concessions from Romania in gas and in other fields. Yeah. But basically Hungary never, Orban is never very pro-Romanian. Should I remind you? I think you know very well, but he didn't want to take the lead here and not to get the blame, because he has so many other issues already, and he is under such a pressure financially, and he had now to concede as well in all these negotiations. Now he could put basically the Austrians ahead. And they are so desperate because this government team is on the edge of collapse, because they have on below 20% of approval rating, because they are basically not very active. They cannot build a pro-European reform agenda. They blame Europe. They are getting into this kind of desperate blaming everybody for their own failures, and they are driven by the opposition funded by Putin, and the pro-European opposition, and both of them are very much driving here the agenda. and unfortunately the pro-Europeans are not very strong. It's unfortunately that the Russians are putting so much money and effort into the Austrian populist insurgents, this extremist party, which is now using openly fascist terms in the television debate, in the parliament debate. I just saw it and I report you live as it happens. It's Mr. Kickl is a fascist. We have to conclude it like this. There is no other way to term it because he's using openly Hitlerite terminology, and he is openly pro-Putin. Yeah? He wants a defeat of Ukraine, and he wants the Russian troops at the EU-NATO border. He is a really very dangerous, treasonable asset. Yeah? But he has his following, and he is riling up the people in this extreme fascist way, and he is absolutely like that. It's a tragedy, but the only way to counter this is to have a broad coalition of all the pro-NATO, pro-EU forces and not to take over his agenda. And unfortunately, Nehammer chose the other way. He is basically under the influence of, I have made the case already, Schüssel and the others who think that this is, we have to the good times with Russian money, it was so soft. Anyhow, let's not go down that line. There will be a lot of things happening this week, and the pressure on Austria will be enormous. I see them already quite subdued because they have not expected this level of opposition, and I'm determined, and I think the summit still has a good chance to break this thing. Yeah, I think on the 15th, this Friday, there is the summit in Brussels, and we have a chance here to get Romania and Schengen and Bulgaria, of course. We have achieved a lot this year. I think it was because I'm now 30 years in this, and I'm now intensively back in this public arena since especially 2012, but 2016, especially in the case of Ukraine, where it was such an injustice to reject Ukraine from 2017 onwards, the EU candidate status, and it was a really big injustice and big strategic mistake. But we have managed now to achieve it. It is historic what happened in the June Council. And now with Bosnia and Kosovo to be EU candidate countries as well, we have that dream which people like me have so long, the EU 37. Basically a united Europe of on the Balkans and Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova. And of course then the preparing everything for the return of the United Kingdom with the free trade agenda, with the EU joining NATO, with the UK returning, and we will be a strong, united West again. I'm still a bit sick, I'm sorry. But okay, not about me, it's about NATO and about the EU and about these countries. We have success here, but we need to have more, and Romania can make a contribution. Just check where you are not fully in line. That's the Eurozone, and that's Kosovo. Bulgaria, by the way, much more aligned already, has a euro-pegged currency. I have no insight why both countries are not really doing the euro now. Croatia is now, and I will go to celebrate. It is the euro in Croatia. This is something substantially and very big. It's a big building block. Because I repeat the logic of all this. All of our additional unity which we have achieved in the year 2022 under the hammer blows of Russian aggression, that means Sweden in NATO, Finland in NATO, historic things. If, for example, Ireland would join NATO, Austria, my big campaign, that is, one more piece of the puzzle where we are more united, and it's everything is a step with the finger in the eyes of Putin because we are more united. So Romania can do that in the case of Kosovo. It is in the case of Eurozone. Very good, yeah. That is, and Bulgaria can join as well. So you need to be on the moral high ground. You need to act in that way, and that's very meaningful. And that was the same also for Spain to recognize Kosovo, for Bosnia to recognize Kosovo, for Ukraine to recognize Kosovo. Thanks, Mr. Goncharenko. It's amazing what is now happening. A lot of Ukrainian MPs are understanding that, and that's very important. So we can have a success. Let me talk shortly about the crisis in Kosovo, because now again these days there is a big crisis brewing in Kosovo because of Serbia. They want to send the army, they are totally crazy. And so basically the bigger picture is like this if we zoom out. that Russia has strategic interest in a second front in the Balkans, and Serbia is a Russian proxy. And along all the 90s break and conflict lines of Bosnia, Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, the Serbian, they are very specialized, they know exactly what to do, and they are very active to create havoc. In Macedonia, the question of the constitutional changes with Bulgaria. Here as well, Bulgaria could be a bit softer, and they have done now a compromise, but the two-thirds is very difficult to achieve because of the political situation in Macedonia. So to insist on these constitutional changes, yeah, it makes everything very complicated for us because that's a easy to block thing, yeah. And so there we have the conflict line in Kosovo. Then of course, yeah, Serbia controls the northern municipalities, and they have created this crisis. Not Kosovo, by the way. It is just implementation of the law, and there is, I think, a very mixed perception. With some people think like that. It is necessary to do that, yeah, and I'm defending that. So that's on Kosovo, and it's also on Montenegro now. They have done this restriction of the presidential powers in the parliament, the vote, a very close vote, very controversial. Why to do that now? And of course, it's part of this rollback agenda, and the same is happening in Bosnia. So the interest of Russia is a maximum distraction of the European and American decision makers. Diffuse the crisis, not diffusing the crisis, escalate the crises on from the perspective of Russia, and then give us maximum pain. I have a bit of a, anyhow, my personal condition does not matter so much. It's the condition of Europe, and we will be much stronger re-emerging. Let me talk also shortly about economics, yeah, because it plays a big role. And of course, we see again what we need is a European energy market. I say that since years now. A European energy union. If it's really true that the Austrians blackmailed the Romanians to have the direct access to the Romanian gas fields via OMV Petrom, and then basically to ask them to have all the gas dealt only with the Austrian stock exchange, and the Romanians get it in a second. You know, it's always complicated questions how to deal economically with gas energies, but we should do it in a European way. It's not Austrian gas, obviously, it's Romanian gas, but it should be European gas, and everybody should benefit from it. This is the way to do it, and everybody should get access to energy on a reasonable market basis. Yeah? This is what we do in solidarity. No Romanian energy consumer should have the issue with supply. No Norwegian, no Bulgarian, no Portuguese, no Finnish, because we are a European Union, a union of solidarity. This is the way to do it. And it shouldn't be not, Austria controls Petrom and then they do this. No. This should be along European lines. And I have made that case already since years now. And now we are in this big crisis and we are not Europeanized enough. And then we have all these bilateral conflicts. And it's a big, big mess in which we are, unfortunately, due to our own lost decade where we have not continued the enlargement process. I call for more unity. Also economically, again, I've now just released also it was amazing data which I got from Romania, these enormous progress figures of the last 20 years due to the low taxation. This is really very good, 10% of tax rates. I will have now changed my line a bit in the light of the Russian aggression. I'm now for 15% corporate tax in the whole of the European Union, one corporate tax level for everybody at 15. This is the good level of corporation tax. No competition between the countries anymore, and 10% for the new countries. So that's the best way, more unity. Let's not divide us. Let's have one tax rate for everybody, about 15. Some countries, they have really to go down from the Germans with 30 and so on and so on. No, let's go to 15, everybody. Let's grow more, because this war, despite my hope, will take a long time. Russia very much wants to make a war of attrition out of it. You know, who is the fiscally, industrial, more capable? We are, definitely, there's no doubt. But it is also a big burden. So we need higher growth. What we can do is cutting taxes in the richer countries which had not so many growth. And when you see this table which I distributed on Twitter, you see very well that we exactly have problems in Italy, in the UK, in Germany, in France, because of the low growth rate. Some of these countries have only doubled their GDP in 20 years, some even less, like Italy, only 60% increase or 70% increase in 20 years. That's not very, that's a really very miserable growth result for an advanced economy and peace times. So the situation is we should really have a growth like not of course 700% like Romania. That's miraculous, but ultimately congratulations. But of course this was with low taxes, with fiscal responsibility, with a lot of immigration, with a lot of FDI, and a lot of integration in NATO and EU, of course. Congratulations. But you need a decent, you should actually double GDP in a decade, yes, that would be the task actually, and so at least 200% could have been expected from everybody, and it's not. This is the problem, because we need to really catch up. We need to grow faster in order to be able to sustain the hammer blows of Russia and to support the consumers, obviously. Also, I made the case also for common debt already, which we need to do. We need urgently to issue more common debt. We have now 18 billion we have done. That was very good. The EU has issued this 18 billion for Ukraine, but ultimately the whole war together will be more 1.5 trillion. Sorry. Yeah, I will be fine again in the coming days. Don't worry. Thanks a lot, and I apologize for all my coughing. Yeah, here we are again. We need these Eurobonds. We have to overcome some of the ideological debates of the past. I know the liberals and the conservatives, they don't want common debt, but it's necessary to do in case of war. And we are a European Union. We need also to overcome all this resistance to put more power on the European level. Obviously, we must be a state like in the United States of America, and this is happening with the EU to join NATO. This is so important, and that will be my campaign for 2023. And because now it's also this EU-ASEAN, the Southeast Asian Summit, and that's very important to build a partnership with them and have a free trade agreement. We have now for 10 years blocked the agreement with Malaysia and with Indonesia just for the palm oil. I mean, you really wonder how important very small sector issues, which most people really don't know, not care, and it is not so important, but it's very important for them. And then we had some green consumer lobbies, and they are putting the issues up. And that's something we have to discuss in European governance. Can a very particular singular interest really dominate the prosperity and block the prosperity of everybody? The German Social Democrats have killed TTIP because of the whatever kind, Russian gas or appeasement or chlorinated chicken, and we are in a very bad situation because of that. And these are the issues. So if we are systematically and seriously, we must be discussing everything top down and understand, of course we need a free trade agreement with ASEAN, with Africa, with Mercosur, and with America. And now the Greens have ratified CETA, the Canadian agreement, after whatever 5 years of debate. And it was not possible with the Social Democrats. What is exactly going on? I mean, these are such things when we do only this kind of show politics. I have my chlorinated chicken, I have my palm oil. Hundreds and thousands of people are producing palm oil in Indonesia, or millions of people do that. This is necessary ingredient for some stuff or not. Nobody forces anybody to eat palm oil and Nutella. You can choose. You're a free consumer in the world. In the European Union, you're protected, but that we then deny trade agreements to people, and that we close ourselves off the world markets, and then we just say, but we have cheap gas from Russia. Anyhow, that it needed a war like this as terrible to show the real face of Russia, and also to show the inconsistencies of our policies is very, very wrong. Anyhow, I do my small videos despite my cold. I keep you posted, but what I say now, let's be more united, and Romania can do its part. Austria can do its part, also joining NATO, by the way. And if we all do a little bit more unity, we'll bring Kosovo and Bosnia towards the European Union fully as member towards NATO. we secure then us from Serbian and Russian aggression, then also the pro-European Serbs will win. And they will win the majority in that country, because it's unfortunate that some countries have this kind of anti-European narrative. If they don't want to join, yes, let's freeze them, like the Dutch have now made an application to freeze the Serb EU membership, because if they don't want to join NATO and EU, we are the same. If they don't want to live in our regulatory system, in our political system, then nobody is forced to do it. We are not the empire. Everybody is here voluntarily. And if the Hungarians, by the way, if Orban wants to leave, and anyhow his future seems to be, no, I don't think he will end up like Yanukovych, because he, it's tempting to think like that, but he is always very smart not to be under the wheel completely, in a sense, and he has now consented again. And so he's a big problem. I remind everybody that the Austrian monarchy had similar problems with our Hungarian friends. So we should also think about linguistic access to some of the linguistic communities which are dominated by, cornered, I call it, by some specific politicians who are abusing their power and extending their control, a grip of their societies, because many people don't speak English. My long-standing campaign of English for all Europeans is actually proving correct again. Yes, let's see how it really turns out ahead of this important council at the end of the year. It's just 2 more days to go. I hope there will be wisdom. I hope the Austrian veto will be broken. I hope, and it's good that Bosnia is now there. And I hope that also they will see the need for a big debt deal, at least to discuss it, because the winter will be very hard. And I don't think that we can wait until March with a new council. We need an emergency council to support Ukraine in these very difficult conditions, economically, fiscally, much more. Today there is the summit in France on this behalf, and I hope that will be very big success. And I will also make separate videos, but I mention it here as well, for the need to have Ukraine in NATO, and Bosnia and Kosovo in NATO, and Austria as well, and hopefully other countries like Malta, Ireland, Moldova. It's all good, and ultimately one day Serbia, but not now, obviously. And then Cyprus should be also united in NATO as a federal state. It's so logical. But now for this summit in Vilnius, and that will be my main campaign, is the EU and Kosovo and Bosnia, Austria, but most of all Ukraine, because Ukraine's NATO membership issue and the EU membership issue and this Reconquista idea of Russia is very much at the core of this war. And I don't say that Russia attacked because of it, but it attacked the European order. And of course it attacked to grab this land because Putin always wanted to have it. There's many clear reasons why he has done it, and no matter what the reasons were, the answer is logically only that we don't cave in and appease, but then neutralize Ukraine as a victim, but we integrate Ukraine in NATO. That's the only logical, consistent answer for long-term security of free Ukraine. If we can integrate all of Ukraine, that's, I don't doubt. I'm very sorry, but I made many videos already that Ukraine probably will not be part of Crimea. We cannot integrate. Yeah? But we have done the same for Western Germany in 1955, put it in NATO, secure it, and then we make the economic competition, and Russia will certainly fail as the Soviet Union failed. Yeah? It's actually failing already, yeah? So it will not take as long. But we need to make a similar bold promise of of NATO membership as we have made for EU membership now for Ukraine. And, it must be a joint offer of all 32 countries and maybe more countries to promise Ukraine NATO membership. And this is basically, and then it's not escalatory because we have a big war already, and we are also funding it and supporting it. So the idea of escalation now, it's the way to peace, because we say basically this is for sure that we will win. And deterrence works. Russia has no chance. Once we have made basically the result clear, and then the war will fade out because of the clarity of our message and the capacities of our economy, technology, physical capacity. But what we lack is the political clear statement that Ukraine will join NATO. And we have actually kept up the situation with territorial integrity higher than NATO. That was not a good decision. We should really much more prioritize NATO membership than territorial integrity, because we have anyhow little means to impose territorial integrity, reimpose territorial will to do that. So what we need is NATO membership. And we can also get countries in conflict in NATO, as we have seen in the case of, there was France with Algeria as a different example, but also in the case of Germany. And we can do that, and that's a better way to do it. Yes. Good, that will be our debate. I thank you very much for your attention. It was now many issues which are important economically, on trade and also on NATO and also on Schengen, but it's all very much connected. And Romanian friends, now many more, I'm welcoming you to my activities here. I will also focus more on Romania in 2023, because seemingly things are still this is still, I thought I never had to work on Romania again, but it's actually work on Austria in many ways. But also Romania can do things, and I call on Romania to recognize Kosovo and also to join the Eurozone, and immediately. The faster, the better. More unity is needed. That's the key for prosperity and security in NATO, EU, the Euro, OECD, Schengen, and to recognize Kosovo, and that's what and also to make the free trade agreements. That's my agenda for, I call it the Open West, the united free world, which I promote in this podcast since 2020 and in the coming years as well. Thanks a lot. All the best for victory, for unity, and for your Romania, Bulgaria, and Schengen, and for Romania to recognize Kosovo. Thanks a lot. All the best. Bye.